Hey everybody. So I actually was going to get started on a 4-part sew along, but I believe it's going to be a 3-part sew along. I actually lost the footage from the first block that I completed, but that's okay because the rest of this video actually shows the second block that needs to be completed, and it is the same as the first block but in a different color pattern. So I'm actually going to go ahead and go on to the rest of the video where I'm showing you how to make the second block. I'm doing cutting instructions for the second block, and we actually needed 6 blocks of that particular one, and so I will go on to that portion of the video, and then I'll come back again at the end and show you the first block, which there's actually 2 of them that you need to create, and I'll show you that one, and you'll see the differences in the color, and I will put the instructions in the description box for cutting both blocks, because I realized that when I did the second one, I realized I was a little bit confusing on what sizes each strip was and things like that. So I will put the instructions for the cutting in the description box below. Also, if you want to, you can go over to patreon.com or to my Patreon account, and I'll have more pictures and description there as far as cutting and all that sort of stuff. So but most of it should be you should be able to get from the video and the description box here. Okay, so for this block, I need to start with the 4.5-inch squares. I need 6, I'm going to do 6 blocks, so I need 6 4.5-inch squares. But because I already cut all of my fabric into strips, I actually need to do 12 2.5-inch, or 12 2.5 by 4.5-inch strips to create the 4.5-inch square. If I had another fabric that matched or blended, I would go ahead and cut that for the square, but sewing them together will be just fine. I should have been paying attention when I got my fabric. I could have cut my 4.5-inch squares first, but most of it is 2.5-inch strips, so that's what I had in my head, that I needed to do 2.5-inch strips. And actually I need to slide this down a little bit more. My ends don't quite match up here. Okay, so 4.5, and that's 4. 8. And 12. Alright, oh. Uh-oh, I did my math wrong. Cut too short of a piece. Okay. Well, we'll do it this way. Sometimes I mess up. So we'll save those for 2.5-inchers. Okay, so that's my 12 4.5-inch blue pieces. Got that. And now I need for blue. So, okay. So 6 4.5-inch squares, or I had to do 12 2.5 by 4.5. And then I'm going to go on to the next part of the blue, which is 72 2.5-inch squares. Alright, so I need quite a bit here. Let's see. So do 8 pieces. I've got these in sets of 2 strips folded together, so this will be 8 altogether. And then use my stripology ruler. I forget what it's called. I think that's what it's called. And okay, so 2.5 inch. That's 8. 16. 24. 32. 40. 48. 56. So 56. Ooh. Six. Take these. So 72. Alright, so I need 24 2.5 by 12.5 pink pieces. Okay. 2.5 by 12.5. 2.5 by 12.5. 24 of them. 8, 20.5. Okay, this one's too short. Okay, 16, right? Okay, so that's 24, 2.5 by 12 inch, 12.5, sorry, 2.5 by 12.5 pieces. Now I need 24, 2.5 by 8.5, and 24, 2.5 by 4.5. So I'm gonna take these, get my 4.5 inches. I'll save these for some crumbs. You never know. Okay, 12.5, 4.5. Now I need our 2.5 by 8.5. Oh boy. Hopefully we're gonna have enough. I didn't really pre-plan this real exact, so when you use EQ8, it tells you like what kind of yardage you need, but I already had things cut from something else I was thinking about doing, and then I decided not to, so I thought I'd use them for this, but I'm not 100% sure I've got enough, so I may have to kind of put some things together. In fact, I'm pretty sure I'm going to. In fact, before I cut this, because I'm literally only going to get 16. Huh. I could get exactly 16 out of this and then do a couple of the squares with a different pink, or I could do them all with a different pink. What do we think? Okay, so I decided I'm going to cut my remaining 8.5 inch strips from 2 different colors. So I'm gonna trim these up here at the end. Let's do white. Actually just going to do, so 3 blocks will have this color and 3 blocks will have the lighter color next to me. Slide that out. Okay. And then we'll do the light color. Blocks. 3 blocks. Those are all scrap. Okay. Okay, so this is how our block should be laid out. We should have a 4.5 inch square in the center. I had to do 2.5 by 4.5 inch strips. So I'm going to sew those together and create my 4.5 inch block. And then 2.5 by 4.5 on the outsides I'm going to sew on. Then I'll sew my strip here and my strip here, sew those on. Continue on my way out. So, alright, and that'll be one of our XO blocks for this quilt along. Okay, so we're going to start by sewing together our 2.5 by 4.5 inch square. You all might have done a 4.5 by 4.5 inch square. I just didn't save I cut all my fabric in the strips and forgot that I was supposed to have a 4.5 inch square for the center. So I'm going to start with that, and then I'm going to sew on the 2 outside 2.5 by 4.5 inch pieces, and just continue on from there. So it's actually pretty simple. Just these 2 together, this one onto here, this one onto here, sew these into a strip, sew them on, sew these into a strip, sew them on, sew these into a strip after you've sewn, well, or you can sew this one onto this, etc., and then sew your outside strips. So I'm just going to keep going with that, and we'll just get the block done. Okay, so I've got my center section sewn together. I'm going to go ahead and iron that. I'm going to come back and sew my top and bottom strips, and I'll sew those onto the block. Okay, now I just need to sew my top and bottom strips together and then sew them onto the rest of the block, and we'll be done with our first block. Okay, so the block at the bottom right here is actually the one that I lost my cutting video on that one. And I had a couple of the parts of the assembly, but it was the very end of it. So I thought, you know what, it's virtually the same block as the one that I've just put together, the two that are up here at the very top. We just put those together. And so this bottom one is virtually the same. It just has different colors, and I didn't do the scrappy middle piece like I did on these two here. So, and I'm really liking the scrappy middle piece on those two. I almost kind of wish I would have done it on this one, but I didn't, and I actually I'm thinking that will lend a little bit of difference to it as well, so that's nice. But yeah, so the bottom one here, we actually wanted to make 2 blocks of that, and so it actually goes in the next video. I will show you more of the placement and why I have my blocks kind of staggered the way they are right now. But I'll show you that when I get the next block done. You'll kind of see what spaces are still left to fill after that. But anyhow, we needed 2 blocks of the white with the blue, and then I needed 6 blocks of the pink and blue, and so I did 3 with a really light pink in the center strip, and then 3 with a darker pink in the center strip. So I think it's gonna look kind of neat. So I'm really keeping my fingers crossed, hoping that all my colors are going to go together well and all that. So far it's looking pretty good. So alright, well anyhow, I just wanted to show you that, and I hope everybody had a nice week, and I hope everybody will have time to join me next week for our technically 3rd block, although 2nd video.